everybody, this is Peter McBride with my Week 1 mini lesson of area analysis. Area analysis is what geographers are able to break down and study specific locations on Earth by surveying, describing, and compiling geographic data about certain places. In order to study how different places around the world vary, geographers rely on these three ideas: site, situation, and region. By studying these three variables, geographers are able to see how exactly human behavior and environmental features impact one another. So the first of the three things is site. Site's the exact location of a place, described in latitude or longitude, or sometimes in characteristics of the place. Most people use characteristics to describe places they travel to rather than latitude and longitude, just because it's easier to describe something by using like culture, foods, people, landscapes, rather than specific coordinates that not everybody would understand. They also may draw on similarities from their own lives to compare places, so similar sports, languages, and popular media. Situation is the location of the place relative to other places. Knowing the situation can help with understanding how a site interacts with the rest of the world. Relative location is a location in reference to another place. So that's describing where a certain place is using terms like between, on the way, near, or other similar terms to describe it. Regions are specific areas of land that are bound together by similarities. So usually they're broken down by climate, soil type, language, or economic activity. There's three different types of regions: formal, functional, and vernacular. Formal regions have one or more essential similarities, such as climate type or language area. These are usually the most broad and all-encompassing things, or regions rather, and they can include entire countries, like in figure 1-8 in the text. Functional regions are defined by interactions among places like trade and communication. Large cities are examples of functional regions, like Chicago is the primary example in the text. The region extends past the formal boundaries of the city, so what this means is like people who live outside the city in the suburbs or just in the outer limits can still identify their home via the city. So if you say you live in like just 20 minutes outside New York City, you can say, oh, I live really close to the city, and people would understand exactly what you mean. Vernacular regions are defined by the perception of their existence by people within or outside these regions. These regions exist based on perception that people use as a symbol of their cultural identity. So the example in figure 1-10 of the text is Greenwich Village in New York City. And while it's not a specific region, it's widely accepted as, Greenwich Village, because that's how people can identify it and know what's going on. So overall, geographers determine regions similarly to how historians define an era or how artists define a style. Some distinct regions are clear due to their landscapes, while others are based on cultural and might be harder to distinguish. Regions based on culture often overlap, like figure 1-11 shows, which I believe is how different sports teams are favored among the country. And countries can be grouped into regions in ways more than just what continent they're on. So like NATO is one example, OPEC is another, and other trade agreements and international organizations kind of tie countries together. So the North Atlantic, NATO stands for North Atlantic something or other, and that combines European countries along with North American countries, which is two completely different regions but still ties them together. So the questions I want to leave are, other than the example in the text, what's an example of a vernacular region? What type of the region is most specific, vernacular, functional, or formal? And in a general sense, why is it more common to use characteristics to describe a place rather than latitude and longitude? And I believe that's it for me, so